Hey everyone, welcome to the How to Pitch Games podcast. I'm Corey, coming to you from the biz dev and licensing team here at tinyBuild Games. So, how to pitch games? What are we doing here? This is all about the roller coaster ride of pitching indie games from everyone involved. You get to hear from indie devs pitch their latest games to a panel of some of the best people in the industry. Publishers, investors, executives, maybe even a surprise guest or three. All who know what it's like to bring a game to market. If you've ever wanted to up your elevator pitch game, put together a killer pitch deck, get pitch prep tips from some of the best in the industry, we've totally got you. Okay, let's take a deep breath. Let's remember that pitching is always a conversation. There's no real right way to do it, and it's never easy to show off your baby. It can be super fun though. We're here to spit some constructive feedback based on what we've learned over the years, but we're not the ultimate authority in pitching, no. And sometimes our panel might be dead wrong sometimes. Shocking, I know. The bottom line, we're always leveling up here on How to Pitch Games. Joining us today are two of the coolest dudes from tinyBuild who have definitely seen their fair share of pitches over the years. First off, we got Tom Bryan, a co-founder of tinyBuild who has seen it all in the world of pitches, from post-apocalyptic arena brawlers to cozy roguelikes. What's good, Tom?
Hey, dude. I was excited when we did the practice. Now I'm nervous. This is the real episode, and I'm like, I hope I don't say anything bad.
Remember, deep breaths, woosah, woosah. Also joining us, the most calm guy I know at tinyBuild. It's Vladimir Tolmachev, a producer here at tinyBuild, who doesn't just kill you with kindness. He destroys your high score and then bakes your mom a cake. Vladimir, how are you, man?
After that introduction, you set a pretty high bar for me. So now I'm a bit nervous, but in general, I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Amazing, amazing. So guys, tell me, before we start with the pitches today, if you could offer our devs one pitch preparation tip before you even sit down, what would it be?
Should I go first?
Sure, yeah, Tom, take it away.
Yeah, okay, cool. So it was my job for like 4 or 5 years to review all the game pitches. So we get pitched something like 600 or 700 pitches in a year. It was my job to go through them all, kind of read everything, make all the meetings. I've watched a lot of presentations from people in similar roles saying, here's some advice on what to do with a pitch deck. And it's commonly people will give you like a rundown of here's the 20 or 30 things that you need to do in a pitch deck. And they try to include everything. And they say, don't forget anything, have this, and this. Otherwise, if it's missing, then we won't pay attention to you. But I did it for like 4 or 5 years, and I don't really think that's how it works. I've never received a pitch deck and then said, all right, this is all the info I need, and then sent back a contract. It's more that the pipeline is we'd receive a pitch deck, and then the next thing we're going to do is for games that we think are a good fit, we're going to have a meeting with that developer. So I would more say the role of a pitch deck is not to completely sign a deal for a game, but it's to get to meet the publisher and convince them that like you're worth meeting. It's true in like all types of business that if you've met a partner and you've talked to them and you've been in the room with them, or you've just spent time analyzing their project, you're going to have a bias to like that project more than the 500 cold call emails that you have behind it. So for developers to use this, I really recommend designing your pitch deck to get you a meeting with the publisher instead of designing a pitch deck to get a contract. And that means like have your 2 most exciting bullet points about the gameplay and then say, we've got tons more gameplay to talk about. We're free to talk about it on Thursday, Friday, and Monday. Or like, here's a quick view of what kind of budget we need. There's loads more details. I'm available tomorrow and the day after. Focus on trying to get the meeting and not trying to secure the deal in your email.
I agree. It's interesting, kind of a trust the process tip. You know, we're not looking to rush here. Let's go slow, guys. Don't be afraid to have a smaller pitch deck that excites the publisher and that tells them about your experience and everything that you've done and how what you're building now is something that the market needs. I think that's a great tip, Tom. Vladimir, what do you have for us? You work with a lot of indie devs. How does your experience inform a prep tip that you would give to our devs?
Yeah, so Tom did give a great tip. So I would say that show, don't tell. So if you have any GIFs, any graphic materials, even screenshots that are super captivating, just use them. Put them in the top of the page, put some of them, of course, mind the weight, to the initial email. If you catch my attention with the artwork, with the trailer, with the GIF, then I will definitely and thoroughly go through a pitch. More so than if I just get the pitch and like, okay, I need to read a bunch of stuff first.
Absolutely. I mean, gaming more than maybe any other medium, we eat with our eyes first, right? So kind of knock us out with a spectacular image kind of right at the beginning of a pitch deck. I find that's very effective. Amazing tip. Okay, guys, let's get to the pitches today. Okay, guys, let's welcome Mike, marketing manager from Deez Games, straight out of Gdansk, Poland. What's up, Mike? And give us the brief story of Deez Games.
Hello, it's great to be here. So we started as a group of friends with a passion for making games. Our founders of Deez Games were students of Programmist University, Programmist High School in Poland. And they decided to go with it and make their own games and achieve their goals and dreams. I joined them along the way as a marketing guy. And here we are now, 3 years after founding Deez Games. We are trying to publish our biggest game so far.
Amazing. And it looks great. So today for us, you got your pixel art cat raising sim, BabushCats, for us.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, because it seems the indie game world is over-indexing on felines these days. I mean, I love cats. I just took my cat to the vet this morning, actually. So I love cat games. So we got like Stray, Little Kitty, Big City. So quickly tell us, why do you think gamers in the gaming community love cats so much?
Oh my God, it's a great question. I think the aspect of the silliness of the cats, and that's something that we want to incorporate in our game. I mean, people love them, right? They're so funny, they're so cute, and they are great pets to take care of, because of the dynamic between the owner and the pet.
Sure. Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. You know, cats are silly. Cats are cute. Cats are fun. They deserve to be in video games. Amazing. Okay. So let's move on to the pitch.
Okay. So basically, our game answers the question, what happens when your cats fall asleep? You take a role of a cute grandma that's having a cat shelter and is taking care of cats. Every day, new kittens come to her house with a bunch and various needs that must be taken care of. The needs may vary from simple sadness or hunger to a crippling catnip addiction that must be taken care of immediately. There's 2 reasons why you should help your cats. The first one is earning the currency. You can exchange it to upgrade your house, build new rooms, buy new furniture, and decorate it as more as you like. The second one is building the bond with your cats. To check the bond level that you managed to get with cat of your choice, you have to go to a room called the Hub. Here, you can check all the stats that your cats have. The stats consists of their common needs, their current bond level, and the skills that you unlocked. But first, we have to answer why do you need these skills and why do you want to upgrade the bond level. Let's talk about the game loop. You start by carrying cats that come to your house. You upgrade your building, manage your budget, buy new rooms, and buy new furniture. But when the time comes to 8 o'clock p.m., you are preparing for the fight. Here, you join the combat mode. After the combat mode, you have rewards for it and the grade of your day that you had. Let's talk about the combat mode. We try to answer the question, what are the biggest nightmares and fears of your cats and how to fight it? To keep the simple and easy-looking dynamic, we wanted to incorporate not real weapons, but water guns, flippers, and balloon swords. You can use the skills that you acquired from the cats of your choice to strike your enemies or to dash through waves of them. Your biggest goal and your main objective is to fight and defeat Buzz, which is the epidemic and which is the biggest nightmare of every cat that you get and that you help. The game will consist of 3 main weeks, each ending with a boss battle. Currently, we are on a stage where we had the vertical slice prepared, and we are planning to release the game on the 3rd quarter of this year. Our main and our target audience is the players between 8 and 30 years of age. Let's look at the dev team behind BabushCats. We are very young, you see. Every one of us is either in high school or still in university. But we are pretty much full stacked, and we have everyone on their own category of development. What we are looking for? Our biggest need is help in marketing. We really want to hit the Asian market because our wish list and statistics show that we have huge potential in Asia, specifically China and Japan. But to achieve every goal of us, every goal that we want to achieve, we need compensation and monetary help to properly develop everything we want to add to the game. Also, we are hoping to get a help in porting, especially for the Nintendo Switch. That's all for me. Thank you for your attention, and let's talk.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mike, for that pitch. BabushCats, so much fun. I love cats. All right, let's throw it over to our cool cats here on the panel, Vladimir and Tom. What did you think of BabushCats?
Yeah, I can go first. So, first of all, thank you for the pitch. It's really awesome, and I know that it's scary and nervous to go and show your pitch public. And basically, especially when it's your favorite game that you work on, it's like pretty hard. And you, I think, nailed the presentation. So I know most of the things I would like to know the publisher, and the game is just great. So thank you for coming. So. I have a couple of questions on the pitch. So you mentioned a team compensation on one of the slides, right? So does it cover the whole period you need for the development up to Q3 2025?
Okay, I'll be happy to answer this question. The thing is, we have a main objective or finishing a game in a state where we have every basic thing achieved to game to be playable. But we have a lot of more things that we want to add to the game that we can't add and we can't develop it without proper help. As I said before, our team consists of high school and university students, which without proper help and proper compensation are not able to just focus all time and put their whole free time on the development. That's why we prepared monetary brackets with special things we are planning in development.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically this means that with this funding you will be able to add more features. Did I get you right?
Yes.
Right?
We are hoping specifically for helping in marketing, but if we get help in funding, we can achieve every goal of ours.
Okay, great. I would suggest that in this case that you can add even a separate slide, especially if you send in the presentation, saying that, hey, we are ready to self-publish the game. It's okay for us. We want to finish it. But if we also secure the dev budget, then we will add these extra features and basically like basic version of the game, improved version of the game, to show what value this dev budget will add. And this also will show to the publisher that you're pretty sure that the game will be successful. And that's pretty important. That's confidence the developers, to transfer about their game to the publishers is really, really important stuff for signing the game later on. Another comment I have, you have great GIFs there. There are like 7 of them on the slide. Right?
Yes.
The proofs. So They look pretty nice. They're really cool. My only problem when I was looking for at them was that they were pretty going fast, and I couldn't concentrate and probably look thoroughly at one of them. So I'd strongly recommend to leave like 3 or 4 of them on the slide and just keep it there. The animation looks great. I really loved it. But I just want to, to be able to concentrate on 1 or 2 and then see what's happening there. And when they're going from left to right, it's a bit hard. Tom, what do you think?
I think you're talking about there's like slide 3 that has a ton of gameplay footage, but all the gameplay footage is playing at the same time and they're also moving. That looks super like vibrant and has tons of motion, but for me reading what the game is, I couldn't read what was happening in the game because they were all moving at the same time. I agree that this is. We always say to people, include gameplay footage and include GIFs, but don't include them all in the same space. Maybe just space them out throughout the presentation.
Sure. We wanted to show you so much.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's just to be darting around and reading them all at the same time kind of makes them all seem weaker when they could all be really strong if they were separated. Vladimir, should I pick it up and talk about some stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first, like Vladimir said, thanks for joining, and thanks for joining on the first episode of the podcast and just showing the whole pitch deck out there. It's going to be nice for people to see a lot more pitch decks, I think. So thanks a lot. This is maybe like a little behind the scenes, but when I got this pitch deck, it was like 170 megabytes. So it wouldn't open on Google Drive or Google Sheets. I couldn't open it in a browser, and downloading it to run offline was also kind of tricky. I had to like optimize it myself. So maybe this is like a boring one, but in reviewing pitches, I did get a lot of pitch decks that I couldn't open, which when it's my job to do all the research on all the pitches, I'll do that. But for my role at tinyBuild, I would have been sending them to producers or the CEO or the COO or someone in finances, and you're just sending it around to lots of people who might be checking it on their phones. They might just be opening it for like 3 seconds to look at some data. So I recommend making pitch decks. Just try to open them on like a tablet and a bed laptop and a phone, and just make sure that they're definitely as easy to open as it is to open like a text document, because you're gonna miss out people. Oh yeah, that was the thing. If you have any videos embedded in the pitch deck, upload them to YouTube as unlisted or something. If you have a lot of GIFs the way that you do, they're all good, but just include maybe like 2 gameplay footage GIFs and then a link to a drive full of more, or even just make them a video that's separated from the pitch deck. One last thing, I don't want to be obsessive over the pitch deck itself, but if I'm working in a role where I'm opening like a dozen pitch decks every day, I'm not going to be doing the transition animations to get through the data. I'm going to be like reading the data and then like zooming up and down the presentation. So I think you had one slide where I think it was like right after this, there was a screenshot, and then the screenshot got smaller and like another piece of UI element slid in. If that's not there in the like static source of the pitch deck, then the person reviewing the pitch deck isn't going to see it because they're not going to play all the transitions and things when they're reading it. Sorry if that's boring, but it's a lot of notes on just how to arrange a pitch deck. How do you feel about that?
I think we managed to do it as 2 separate slides.
Okay, cool, good.
Yeah. I think you, even if you don't play transitions, it's still as a separate thing.
Okay, perfect. Right. So just make sure the pitch deck is super accessible and that everything's readable as you would read a static PDF or text document or something. I had one more, but Vladimir, is there anything else you wanted to shout out?
Yeah, just a couple of smaller things. Well, not that small because we're talking about the people. So we mentioned that you're still starting, right? Most of the team. So and that's totally understandable. Could you please tell me, did he get any awards at this dev team, or probably participated in, in some press coverage, or did he participate in any events with BabushCats?
We start with BabushCats. Basically, we started as a game for the not conference, but a big event in Poland called Zespołowe Tworzenie Gier Komputerowych in Łódź City. And I think we won 3 main awards with it. BabushCats already have been awarded 3 times.
Great. That's really cool to hear, and I would love to read it in the pitch. Don't be shy. Add them, even if it's a local event. It's still good that you got recognition. It really ups the value, of the pitch and the project. So I would add it, at least in appendix. And you have a great slide at the end. Thanks for attention, and let's talk with the scan me. I did right. There's a QR code.
Yeah, it's a QR code to my LinkedIn profile.
Oh, nice. That's really cool. I like it. My last question: do you have a trailer for the game?
Yeah, we have a trailer that's available to see on our Steam page right now.
Okay, great. So if you have a trailer or even a Steam page, that's really cool. I would suggest adding it after this slide or somewhere like appendix. You can find extra gifts here. You can find a trailer here. You can find our Steam page here. Everything just to easy up navigation for people. We'll just give you. This is a small one, but it's a really nice thing to have, and easy is looking for a game, especially like Tom mentioned, if you have 10 or 15 pitches that you need to review this week, and it happens each week, so that really helps people navigate, and you want people to be concentrating on what the game is and not how to find information about it. So add the links. Don't be shy. That would be cool. And that's all from my side. Tom, do you have?
Nice. Well, Vladimir, great feedback. Tom, love all your notes, guys. We talked a lot about the pitch deck and what's important to include, what's important to talk about. I'm curious, do you have any questions or thoughts on maybe the market viability of a game like this that's kind of blending these two different genres together?
Yeah, I was wondering about that because it's called BabushCats, so it's kind of I would think of BabushCats as a game that was about raising cats and kind of like a Neko Atsumi. It kind of looks like you collect all the cats, you clean them, you pet them, you give them toys, and you're super nice with them. But then the second half of the game is you go into dungeons and fight enemies, and it's like a Vampire Survivors, Nuclear Throne roguelike. So I felt like the best way to make a cat herding game would have been to drop the combat, and the best way to make a combat game would have been to drop the cats. So I was a little wondering how these two sides make for a better game.
Yeah, that's a big challenge that we put at ourselves, but we believe we can make something beautiful and put together these two opposite sides of the coin, right? Cozy Tamagotchi-like pet caring game with not so intense but engaging combat cycle. This is a trend that you see, for example, in Moonlighter, a trend that you see in Cult of the Lamb. Players are hungry for games that mixing genres, right? And that's something that inspired us, and it's still inspiring us to make it as engaging as possible and put together two opposite sides of the gamer audience.
Awesome. That's a super good idea, actually. I would say, I think you had a slide right before this that says your target audience is just players aged 8 to 30. So it was something super general. I would say your target audience is people who are playing Cult of the Lamb, Dave the Diver, Binding of Isaac. You actually have a focused but really big and busy and vibrant target audience. So I would maybe write that down on this slide here.
Okay, yeah, that's a great thought.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for the pitch of BabushCats today. We had a lot of fun learning about the game and learning about Deez Games, and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Hey, let's welcome Kirill, CEO of Ukraine's Pushka Studios, to the pod. One of our favorite partners here at tinyBuild, Pushka. You've helped us on some of our best games like Spider Hack and Cartel Tycoon. How are you, Kirill? Thanks for coming on the podcast. What's the last game you played and absolutely loved?
Good. Hi, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to the podcast. So one of the my favorite games that I've lately played on Steam was actually the Spell Brigade. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the game, but it's a very nice bullet hell type game where you can play in a co-op mode with your friends. And we actually love to play it so much with our colleagues when we had breaks during the office hours, and just great to play with your friends.
Amazing. Very nice and bullet hell. Usually that's not what comes to mind. Usually I'm all tensed up playing bullet hell games. I love that. But speaking of very nice, today you're going to tell us about your relaxing puzzle game that you're developing at Pushka, Floating Factory. So we're seeing a lot of these relaxing, cozy factory automation games released and getting super popular on Steam, certainly in the past few years. Kirill, why do you think people love these games so much?
Sure. So I think that lately there have been several games that are automation and factory building focused, and they got very popular last couple of years. But what we are currently creating is the puzzle game with the automation and mechanics and elements into it. So it's basically the puzzle game where you can, when you don't have a pressure, when the game doesn't force you to do anything on time, or it's a very interesting experience where you can spend time with a game without forcing of doing anything. And also what we believe is that this type of games is actually not too many on the handheld consoles, and our game is actually very well suited for Nintendo Switch and Steam Deck and other handheld devices. So we think that this is going to be a very interesting spot where our game can shine and attract a lot of audience when we release it.
Amazing. Awesome. Let's get to the pitch for Floating Factory, guys.
Sure. Okay, so today I would like to present you our game Floating Factory. So this game we've been working on since the early 2024, so since the last year. And currently we are at kind of alpha beta stage, and we are ready to show you some of our gameplay first. So the Floating Factory is the cozy puzzle game with the automation elements. You have this huge archipelago of islands, and you are actually building these small factories on it to actually perform the resource extraction from the islands. Okay, so this was our video, and yeah, we got the next slide. So as I mentioned, the genre for the game is the puzzle game with resource management and factory builder mechanics. And when we put references here on the slides, like Factorio, Dyson Sphere program, and Shapes too, it's actually not very correct to call them our references. They are actually more kind of like a references for our main gameplay, or something that you will do on the islands every time. But in the core of the game, it's more of the puzzle game. And for this game, we choose the very kind of like a cozy and Studio Ghibli inspired environment. So the game is very kind of like a family friendly, and you don't have any violence or like any elements that can be treated as a game for like only adults or for elder auditory. So we think that this game will fit perfectly on the Nintendo Switch and Steam Deck. So firstly for handheld consoles, and for different auditory, including kids. So we think that the best fit will be there, but also we would like to ship the game for Steam on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. We also thought about the mobile in the future. Maybe we'll do it, maybe not. We'll see how it goes on other platforms first. Okay. So on this slide, you can see several GIFs with that showing the gameplay, and each level actually gives you different challenges that you will have to solve, and you have usually several different ways how you can optimize your setup for every island. And it's for the players to choose if they would like to go for the better efficiency or if they would like to finish their setup faster and move to the next island and solve new puzzles as they progress. We generally think that in our game, the difficulty curve will be very smooth, and a lot of people that even didn't play a lot of puzzle games previously, it will be easy for them to pick up how to play the game. And also, as they progress through the islands, they will learn new mechanics, they will learn new machines, new conveyors, and they will get more familiar with the different aspects of kind of like automation genre type games. And as they progress, they will become more and more proficient in creating the optimal setups for resource gathering and resource extracting, which is actually the main goal of each puzzle in our game. We have a little story behind the islands and why it is necessary for us to make those setups and fulfill the requirements. So the airship engineer Jaden, she came up to this archipelago, and she will try to find the Philosopher's Stone, which maybe she will find, maybe she will not. We'll see as the player progresses through the islands. Players will unlock new technologies that will allow them to build new factories and new conveyors and progress through different biomes. And also the interesting part is that players will choose so we will have the technology tree that will have a different paths for players to progress and navigate through the archipelago. It will involve different biomes, and depending on which technologies you would like to unlock first, you will go for different directions on the archipelago, and you will unlock different biomes, and the players will choose which one they would like to kind of research first, and then later they will unlock the other biomes. So every island will be the separate, different, unique puzzle, and players will have to solve those challenges every time, and they will have different setups, because some islands they will be like a just like a single island. Some islands, some puzzles, they will involve several islands, and you will need to connect the conveyors and the supply chain from different islands. But those will happen on the kind of like a later stages. The beginning of the game, as I mentioned, it will be very smooth, and the player will have a lot of time to learn the basics of the game and how to use a new type of machines and conveyors as the player progresses. Okay, so as I said, we started the project early last year, and by April of last year, we got the first prototype. Currently, we are in the middle of alpha and beta, and we plan to release the game in September 2025. So what we are looking and what we're expecting from the publisher is marketing expertise, helping us with localization. We will not have a lot of localization in the game, but still we would like to have localizations for most European countries and also for Asia, because we think that with our art style, game might be very popular in Asia as well. We will also require some additional funding. This number can be discussable with our future publisher as well. What we will cover additionally on our end, since we are the studio that specifically works with consoles, we will cover porting to consoles ourselves, and we will also do the certification QA in-house because we have internal capabilities for that as well. Few words about our studio. We are around 50 people studio at the moment. We across all disciplines, and we mostly work with the other studios, helping them with porting their games and co-developing them. One of our best partners that we work with is tinyBuild, and thank you for your projects, and you guys doing a great job. We also work with other publishers, indie publishers like Devolver Digital, Annapurna Interactive, Micros, and others. But also we create our own games, and we would like to have in the future kind of like a mixed business where we have work for hire projects and also working on our own IPs. Some of the projects we've been working on recently, you can see it on the slide. So it's project, as I mentioned, for tinyBuild, for Devolver Digital, and other well-known indie AA publishers. Okay, thank you for watching our presentation, and I hope you liked it. And if you have any questions, I would love to hear them and answer them.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that original pitch, Kirill. Let's kick it over to Tom and Vladimir with their feedback.
Thank you, Kirill, for coming, and thank you for your pitch. That's really great having you, talking to you. Tom, if you allow me, I can start, yeah? So I really like the pitch. I like that you've shown the trailer first. I like that there is a lot of GIFs and it's short and on point. Could you please tell me what was your thinking behind showing the reference projects first? Like if you can go back to the third slide, I think, of the presentation. Yeah, sure. That one, before Game Pillars. So these are screenshots from Factorio and other games, right?
Yes. So the first two screens from Factorio and from Shapes too, I believe. Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah. So, or maybe doesn't matter. So the idea behind showing those games as a references, I don't know why, because I couldn't find something that matches our game as a good reference. So most of the automation type games, they have those huge, big, open world type of setups where you spend hundreds of hours on building the mega factory. So I couldn't find something similar to what we are trying to create. Actually, there is one game, it's still in development. It has been announced, but I didn't put it on the list because it's not released, and I think that it's like we shouldn't show it as a reference when the game is not released yet. So yeah, it's we think that why we put those on the list, because those are some familiar games for most of the publishers, or even for like gamers or people who play games. They know them, and it's easy to understand by showing those games what would be the core of solving every puzzle on each island. Okay,
understood. So I would suggest, like from my perspective, it would be great that if we show first the GIFs from your game. Like I really like the GIF game pillar slide and the next one about the story. I'm still, hungry with looking at your game after the trailer, and I just got a bit distracted with other games. So I would suggest like splitting that slide, the previous one that you had, from the references and making like it's a separate slide after like game pillars and other stuff, like hey, this is the genre, this is the platforms, like if you go to this, there's like this is the platform that we want to publish on, this is the gift from our game, then two slides with gifts from your game, and then showing the references that you're looking at, because it a bit breaks my immersion that I'm looking at other games here. Like I've just seen the trailer and you have these awesome gifts, show them to me first. That would be my advice. Tom, do you agree with me?
Yeah, I did assume one of those screenshots was from your game. So I recognized a couple of them, and then I thought, oh, the third one must be from your game then. But no, that mixed me up. And sometimes we actually get pitch decks where they assume that all the producers at the company recognize all the games. And in this case, I know what Factorio and Satisfactory are, but sometimes we get developers showing us reference material, and then they tell us in the meeting, oh, that's not my game, and then it's a big mix-up, and it's a poor way to start a meeting.
Yeah. So show you have lots of content in game, I see, from the GIFs and from the trailer. Just show it first. Second question I have, you mentioned that you want additional funding, right, on the slide? I'm assuming that this means that you put some part of your funding here as well, like, into developing the project.
Sure, yes. So the entire development of the game was actually covered by our own expenses. And now we have to push this, the last kind of like several milestones where we will need to spend a bit more on the team. So we still have a lot of art that has to be finalized, and there are still a lot of work. So the core gameplay is there, the story and the way the learning curve and difficulty curve is like kind of like a first-time user experience. We think that is already there, but there's still a lot of work ahead of us. And if we can agree with publisher on additional funding, that would be great. Otherwise, we will finish the development of the game by ourselves, and then we will just probably publish the game ourselves as well.
Okay, that's actually the point that I always love the developers to say that, hey, we are confident in our game, we already funded it well, we just need this extra bit for extra push, but we'll publish it still, like, even if we don't secure the additional funding, probably we'll have a bit smaller scope in terms of the features or in terms of the art, but we are ready for that, and we already invested in it, like, put some time. So if you could expand or just basically shortly mention what you just told me, that like, okay, the game is pretty far in development, we just need additional funding for extra push, but we're still ready to publish it ourselves. That like a small remark and like, at the end of the slide, that would be great, I think.
Yeah, sure.
That were like basically the main two things. Can you please go to the last slide just to check it really quickly? Okay. In addition to the email to your website, please add the contact email. Whom should I contact about this pitch? So because like we always say, Tom actually mentioned a couple of times already that the goal with the pitch deck is to get to the meeting with the publisher. So the either to find whom to write, the better.
Yeah.
That's all from my side. Thank you for the pitch.
Thanks. I agree. I think it was a really good pitch. I think the footage looks great. The artwork in this game is so good. There's tons of stuff already listed. I like that you had the history of the studio and like the production timeline. There's tons of stuff that's already really good about this pitch. There's one thing that's like a tiny technical suggestion I'd make. On the slide where you talked about the team and the studio, first there was like some photos of the people that work there, and then a lot of text that's like very broad and general. I almost wrote down the note like, I want to see what you worked on though. And then the next slide was what you worked on. But even in that, I think, I know that this team at Pushka is super, super good. So I would say not even just listing the titles of the games, but say what you've done on those games. Because I know that this team has like gotten some difficult games to like run at 60 on the Switch, or they've been fully responsible for like online multiplayer, or anything that especially might be relevant to this game. I would show the thumbnail and then say what your team achieved. Maybe like you passed certification in the first round, or you have everything, you were like loading times very fast on Steam Deck, or whatever it is. Even that you've been around for, I think, like 10 years or more than 10 years. All of those give a really good indication that this isn't a team that's just touched these projects. This is a team that has achieved really good, difficult things and can be relied on for new projects. So I'd give a little more detail on the slide for what you've worked on.
Yeah, thank you for the advices. Yeah, I think we will need to do some additional work on some of the slides that you mentioned. Yeah, really good points. Thank you.
Okay. One more thing about the game. I'm a little bit nervous. We often get pitches at tinyBuild that are we get pitched hundreds of games, and it's very common that a game is kind of sitting on the fence between two audiences. And what's super effective if you're a small team is just to pick an audience and then just drill as deeply at 100 miles per hour into the very center of that audience. But knowing that you're taking something like Satisfactory or Factorio, taking a factory management game, which is super nerdy and niche. Well, not niche, it's big, but it's very PC gamer, hardcore dude game, and offering it to what you call puzzle game players. I don't really know. I can't really think of puzzle game players or what puzzle game would be a good entrance to this, because there's still conveyor belts and factories and big industrial machines. And I feel like if you've looked over the fence at Factorio and said, oh, that's too intense for me, I think everything that you find intense about those games still exists in this game, from what I can see in this pitch. So who is the audience for this game?
Sure, a good question. Thank you. And we also thought a lot about this, and we think that we are not aiming in between of two audiences, but we are aiming onto the puzzle games auditory. So it's mostly going to be for the people who love solving puzzles, kind of like games like Opus Magnum or other this type of games that exist and doing pretty well on Steam, actually. But with the elements of the automation type games. So in the core, this is a puzzle game. So we are not trying to kind of steal audience from the Factorio or Satisfactory, because they are playing those games for a different reason. So I would say that our audience is more casual players, and if you would, mobile players even. So people who is kind of going to work, and they have to spend 30-40 minutes in train or somewhere in the bus where they can play Nintendo Switch or Steam Deck, and they would like to spend those 40 minutes on the game on Switch, for instance. This is the game for them. So they will have a very pleasant experience. They will solve 2, maybe 3 islands. And for other people who is playing on this team, later in the evening after the work, they can relax. They don't need to watch for too many things, like when you play Factorio or Satisfactory. You don't need to remember a lot of things. Like the whole puzzle is on the one island, and you solve it. It's 15 to 20 minutes, and on the later stages, it might be 20 to 30 minutes for the bigger puzzle, and that's it. You finished it. You got your good positive vibes. And then you unlock new technologies, and then you moved on to the next island. And then if you have a break for a week playing the game, you pick it up very easily, because you have a new island with a new challenge, with new puzzle. So you don't need to remember about all those big factories that you were building for 200 hours back in the days, like in Factorio, for instance.
Yeah, it's interesting. The elevator pitch here, I like to talk about elevator pitches a lot, Kirill. It's kind of baked right into this thing, right? It's in my head, I see this as a beautifully accessible factory building experience, right? I feel like, it's kind of staring you right at the face, and I feel like you can kind of put that front and center here in the deck. I think that was the one thing that I would have liked to see as well. Sorry, Tom, you have some more feedback for Kirill.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if I see this, and I am an automation game fan, like Shapes 2 or something, I might see this and then decide, oh, maybe I should try this. But I think for players who are into the genre, I think if they try this, I know that they hate stage-based gameplay and like completing a stage and starting again, because in the genre for like hardcore automation heads, that's like they immediately put the game down, they give it a negative review on Steam. So I think for this game to work, for it to reach its intended audience without pulling in a bunch of people who are going to play it, leave a negative review and refund it, I think it has to be further away from looking like satisfactory. And there are games out there that give automation gameplay to players who are more coming from puzzle games like Mini Metro or like Slime Rancher, or games that where you kind of build out a numbers machine, but it's definitely not pulling in fans of Satisfactory or Shapes 2. They would never accidentally think this was for them. So it's kind of the brand direction and the clarity for the audience that is the biggest red flag for me, that I'd be most worried about working on this game.
Yeah, this is another reason why we are looking for a publisher to help us with better positioning and with better kind of explaining on the Steam and other platforms what is the game about, and to avoid the misunderstandings from the players.
Amazing. Well, Kirill, thank you so much for this pitch today. Super clear in a growing genre. It looks great, and we had a lot of fun talking to you about the game today. Good luck with the game.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for inviting me. It was a very interesting experience. It was actually the first time I've pitched the game online like we did today. It was a great experience. Thank you for your advices, and yeah, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kirill.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on our first episode of How to Pitch Games. What did you think of the games pitched today? Would you play any of them? What advice do you have for our devs? Let us know in the comments below. And if any of the games caught your interest, you want to play them? A lot of them already have Steam pages. So if you're into these games, you want to follow them, mash that wish list button, and you can follow all of them on socials too. We've got links to everything below, so please show these devs some love. If you're an indie developer and you want to pitch your game on the How to Pitch Games podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Just send your pitch deck to podcast@tinybuild.com. That's podcast@tinybuild.com. The main thing, your game needs to be for PC or consoles, and you should be actively looking for a funder or a publisher. Our production team will check submissions and reach out to selected developers. Also, we're especially keen to hear from developers from underrepresented backgrounds. We want to showcase a diverse range of voices in the indie gaming scene. If you like what you saw today, please don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast and follow us on social media at tinyBuild for more updates. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.